Senu and Barika Desua. I am sorry for not uploading an episode last week. I was feeling very sick and under the weather. So today I'll be uploading two stories. The first story is about the tortoise, the sheep, and the dog. And the second story is about how the oil palm got its nuts. They are both written by Remy Adedeji. Enjoy. So the title of the story is The Tortoise, the Sheep and the Dog. Once upon a time, the tortoise invited the sheep to follow him to visit his parents-in-law who lived in the next village. Sheep agreed to go with him, but not until tortoise assured sheep's mother that he would take care of the sheep. It took a long walk to the next village, and when they arrived at the tortoise in-law's house, tortoise said to the sheep, "Now we are about to reach my in-law's house. I will be known as the visitor while you will be known as the follower." Sheep asked, "Why do we have to be known by new names?" Tortoise replied, "Because it is forbidden to call a son-in-law by his real name. He is usually called a visitor, and in the same way, anyone who accompanies him is known as a follower." Sheep was so stupid that he easily believed all that Tortoise said. The people in the village welcomed them by saying, "We are very happy to see you. We hope you had a pleasant journey." "Yes, thank you," Tortoise answered. "The journey was pleasant and we are glad to be there." Tortoise and the sheep were taken to a large room with two beds. They were to use the room as bed, sitting room and dining room. Also in the room were long bench and a small table. Soon, Tortoise's father-in-law came into the room to welcome the visitor. Later, his mother-in-law came to see if the visitor was comfortable. One by one, the other people in the compound came to welcome the visitor. All along, it was Tortoise who responded to the greeting. Sheep just kept quiet. After all, Tortoise was the visitor and Sheep was the follower. "I wonder why people don't like followers in this village," said Sheep. "Everyone that came in has shown some concern for you, but nobody has cared for me." But it was only the beginning of the humiliation that Sheep was to suffer. At meal times, it was the visitor that had all the foods and drink. There was nothing for the follower. When it was time to go to bed, it was the visitor who had the better bed. Thus, Tortoise had a pleasant time, while Sheep suffered in silence. This went on for 2 days. Sheep was very hungry. He said to the tortoise, "Let us go home." When they were about to leave, all the presents were given to the visitor, while nothing was given to the follower. All the same, both tortoise and sheep went back to their own village. On their way back, they had to go across a stream. Tortoise advised sheep to drink plenty of water. Sheep did as he was told. Tortoise saw that the sheep's stomach was still flat, so he suggested that the sheep should bend down while he pumped water through his anus. Sheep stupidly agreed, and he looked as robust as ever after it was done. To stop water from pouring out, Tortoise fitted a cork into Sheep's anus. When Tortoise and Sheep got back to the village, Sheep's mother was very happy and she thanked Tortoise for taking good care of her son. However, she soon realized that her son only had a false appearance. For when she wanted to take down a bowl from the top of the rack, she asked her son to do it. As he climbed, she noticed something sticking out of his anus. "What is this sticking out of your anus?" she asked as she pulled the cork out. Sheep couldn't give an answer as he fell and died. "What has Tortoise done to my son?" she shouted as tears rolled down her cheeks. News soon spread around the village about how Tortoise had ill-treated Sheep, who had accompanied him to his wife's family village. One of those who heard the news was Dog, who later offered to accompany Tortoise to his wife's family house the next time. A few months later, Tortoise invited Dog to accompany him to his in-laws' village. Again, when they were about to get to the village, Tortoise said to Dog, "You see, we are about to reach my in-laws' house. Custom demands that we change name. I shall be referred to as a visitor, while you shall be referred to as a follower." No, Dog Cotton. "I shall be the visitor, while you will be the follower. After all, you are well known, and I am actually the visitor. My friend, I am therefore the visitor, and you are the follower. And if you don't like to be referred to as a follower, you may choose another name." Tortoise was surprised at Dog's cleverness. He had no choice but to agree to the dog's suggestion. When they arrived at their destination, they were received warmly. Again, they were taken to the same room as before. However, this time it was the dog that received all the attention. He had all the food and drink. He slept on the better bed, all because he was the visitor. As for the tortoise, he had nothing to eat and drink. The tortoise suffered in silence. He became so hungry that he asked the dog to give him some food. No, answered Dog. The food is for the visitor. I am sure they will soon bring your own food. Of course, Tortoise knew that nobody would bring food or drinks for the follower, but there was nothing he could do about it. Things happened this way for 2 days before Tortoise and Dog decided to go back to their village. On their departure, Tortoise's father-in-law presented them with a cow. On their way home, Tortoise again thought of a clever way to own the choicest part of the cow. Let us cut this cow and share it, he said. Dog agreed. They killed the cow, and when it came to sharing it, Tortoise put forward another suggestion. He said, all the parts that give a soft sound when sliced with a knife and when thrown on the ground shall be mine. But all the part that gave a harsh sound against the knife or a heavy sound when thrown on the ground shall be yours. The dog didn't argue with him. Of course, all the fleshy part of the cow went to the tortoise, while all the bones and the head of the cow went to the dog. Dog was not offended, but as Tortoise had a lot of meat to carry, he couldn't walk fast. The dog went ahead of Tortoise, and after walking for some time, he was tired. He decided to sit and rest under a tree. As he was looking at the cow's head with his eyes bulging, an idea came into mind. He got up suddenly and went to the middle of the road. He dug into the ground and buried the cow's head with only his eyes showing. Then he went to hide in a bush nearby. Not long afterward, Tortoise approached the tree with his load of meat. He did not suspect that the dog was nearby. Suddenly, Tortoise saw two bulging eyes staring back at him, and he became frightened. What do you want from me, Mother Earth? He said, shivering. Shall I give you 1/4 of my meat? All right, you can have it. As he said this, he dropped 1/4 of his meat beside the eye, but the eye seemed to stare all the more. Oh, I see, said Tortoise. You want half of my meat? Here it is, Mother Earth. Will that satisfy you? And the tortoise dropped more meat beside the eye, but he did not think that Mother Earth was satisfied. Dear Mother Earth, said Tortoise, I can see that you want every piece of my meat. Here you are. You can have everything. And as he said this, he dropped every piece of his meat he had on him and ran home. Dog came out of his hiding and said to himself, so I can now have all the piece of meat as well as my bone and the cow head. The dog brought out the cow head, collected all the meat and went home. Later that day, Tortoise went to visit the dog at home. Tortoise wanted to tell Dog about the experience he had with Mother Earth, but as he spoke, his eye spotted the piece of meat in one of the corner of the house. My friend, said Tortoise, how did you come about this piece of meat? Oh, those, said Dog. Mother Earth gave them to me. She did, said Tortoise in utter surprise. Yes, answered Dog. Then you must give me some, pleaded Tortoise. No, my friend, Mother Earth has warned me not to give out any part of it. Tortoise went home disappointed and hungry, and that concludes the end of the story. Thank you for listening. Join me next week as I tell you more stories from Moonlight Tales. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. Say goodbye and stay blessed.